Welcome in. Belly up, have a seat, grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome on into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. It is Wednesday, October 22nd. This is episode 180, and we go back in time for the Week 7 Rewind. In this show, we will close the books on week number 7 and transition into week 8. We'll start off with some player news. We'll recap week number 7 of the Wingman Fantasy Football League. We'll check in on those updated standings, take a gander at our Goose-o-meter. Oh, strap in, man. We've got a Mike Rant for you today, and we'll take a glance at some waiver wire targets. We're also going to play a little game I like to call Please Hold or Time to Go. And we'll let you know who won the Showcase Showdown in the Wingman Jam between Andrew and Austin. And we'll also preview the Thursday night game between the Minnesota Vikings, who set sail to LA to take on those LA Chargers. But before we do any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right, now that everyone is here, it's obvious here that I'm doing this solo without Bernie today. We're still getting the studio back together. And with all that being said, I'm doing this overnight, and it's not fair to have Bernie stay up and help me out. But nonetheless, I appreciate whenever he can join me, and he'll join me on the next one, all things willing here. All right, the theme for week number 7 was we had 7 NFL players get 30-plus fantasy points. The old QBs showed out as well, and more wide receiver injuries. We had more wide receivers go down. And both of them were on my team. All right, nonetheless, let's get into some player news. Speaking of those wide receivers who went down, oh my gosh, Mike Evans suffered a concussion and a broken clavicle. He is now reported to miss the majority of the remainder of the season, although the exact amount of time to be missed has not been clarified here. So I'm not sure if I should drop him or hold on to him for potential week 13, 14, 15 return. I'm not sure, and I'm sure you're not sure either. So we'll keep you up to date as this affects me personally. So we'll let you know whether or not Mike Evans is a drop for this season or not. We're not there quite yet. Another player who's out for the year here is Kendra Miller, backup running back for the New Orleans Saints, suffered a torn ACL, is now down for the season. Done for the season. Keep in mind here, a little news tidbit here for you. Rookie Devin Neal is now expected to be the backup running back going forward. He's a 7th round drafted running back for the Saints this season. All right, Nico Collins also did not finish the Texans game on Monday night as he was diagnosed with a concussion. He is now in the concussion protocol, and I'm a little worried with the short week since they had the last game on Monday night. I'm believing his week 8 availability is in serious doubt. All right, Carson Wentz is expected to be the starter once again for the Vikings in their Thursday night matchup for the LA Chargers against the LA Chargers, as JJ McCarthy is not quite ready yet, still dealing with that high ankle sprain. Keeping with other quarterbacks who might be changing in terms of backups getting starting nods here, Tyrod Taylor is trending towards making the start for Week 8 against the Cincinnati Bengals for the New York Jets. Aaron Jones is having his 21-day practice window open for a return from the IR. However, with the Vikings playing on Thursday night this week, he is not expected to be ready to go for this week, although this is good news that he should be returning sooner than later. This one caught my attention here, guys. Hassan Haskins is listed as doubtful for the LA Chargers game that's on Thursday night against those Minnesota Vikings. They really don't have any other practice squad type running backs except for Nyheim Hines. This might be a Kamani Vidal special this week. Little nervous to play him as he's not a big back here, but again, he's going to have the backfield all to himself except for maybe Nyheim Hines or an unknown rookie that I'm not aware of at the moment. Breece Hall is a major player to watch as the NFL trade deadline approaches in the first week of November. I'm just making a speculation. I'm just kind of looking at NFL teams that are going to need running backs who are trying to improve their team here. And I'm thinking with the recent struggles of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for the Commanders, this is my pick. I'm thinking Breece Hall might get moved over to the Commanders, or at least we're looking to see if that might be the case. You think that that'll be a split backfield, or you think Breece Hall goes there, he will get a majority of the work? It's a fair question. We will just have to wait and see. Again, this is just speculation on my part, but Breece Hall he doesn't want to be a Jet, that's for sure, and they're not looking to re-sign him, so he's probably going to be on the move. Let's just hope he gets on a team where he can get a bulk of the carries. All right, rookie kicker Jude McAdamy for the Giants has been released after missing those 2 extra points in that blown lead against the Denver Broncos in Week 7. With him being released here now, we have a couple options who will take the place for the kicking duties for the New York Giants. If you remember, Youngshui Koo was signed to the practice squad several weeks back when McAdamy beat him out for the job. So he is still there, has a chance to be promoted into the starting kicker role for the Giants. Also, Graham Gano, who's been on the IR, has a chance to be activated. He has not been activated yet, but he has a chance to be activated prior to the Sunday game this week. So it's either going to be Youngshui Koo or Graham Gano, and the person being activated from the IR must be activated, I believe, by 4 o'clock Saturday prior to their game. So we'll know by Saturday evening who's going to be the kicker for the Giants this week. All right, heading over into Commanderland, Terry McLaurin is expected to practice in full this week ahead of the Commanders' Monday night game against the Kansas City Chiefs, as is Deebo Samuel, who missed last week as well. He's expected to practice in full. And Jaden Daniels luckily avoided a serious hamstring injury this past week. However, the sophomore star is expected to miss Week 8, making way for another Marcus Mariota start. I always say with this Terry McLaurin, when it comes to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're all optimistic that he's going to play, and then Thursday or Friday he gets ruled out. They started early this week saying he's going to practice all week. I'll believe it when I see it when he gets back on the field. Although he did get a limited practice in last week, so he is trending in the right direction, but it's been since Week 3 since he has been on the field. All right, going to the 49ers here, we have Brock Purdy is still uncertain whether or not he will get back onto the field in Week 8, and they're monitoring the knee injury for Ricky Pearsall as well. We'll just have to see the practice reports later in the week. My strong inclination here is that Mac Jones will get another start. Pearsall, I'm not quite as sure on, but at least we have Juwan Jennings was off the injury list late last week, and Kittle is also going to be back into the fold. Darren Waller, Miami tight end, suffered a pectoral injury and got some good news as it was considered a strain and not a tear. This means the star tight end is labeled as week to week and will not be done for the season. All right, guys, it is now time to take a look back in time as we do the Week 7 Rewind.
Let's go back. Week 7 Rewind.
All right, guys, in the Rewind, this is where we look at the Wingman Fantasy Football League matchups for the previous week, Week 7, and we break it down a little bit further to see how these teams got their outcomes. All right, starting off with, we have Brian's under 40 came into week number 7 at 4-2, up against Reggie's Lionize, who came in at 1-5. And as expected, the favorite took this one down. Brian's under 40 defeated Lionize 106.06 to 86.33 at a 19-plus point differential. This just shows you how close the games were this week. This is our biggest blowout of the week.
You got knocked the f*** out, man!
All right, on to our next game here. We have Paul's Cubert Rage coming in on a 3-game winning streak. Could he keep it going? He was going up against Alex as they took our jobs, who's also been on a roll lately. But Paul's Cubert Rage keeps it going, winning this one 116.04 to 104.72. Alex, as they took our jobs, made it interesting with Jahmyr Gibbs on Monday night, but he would have needed another 10 points or so to get this one closer. That is now 4 wins in a row for Cubert's Rage. And after starting the season at 0-3, Cubert's Rage has completed the season turnaround. All right, on to our next game on the docket. We have Andrew's Crazy Fish came in at 1-5 up against Ben's team, who changed his name from Fire Billy Napier to Go Gators. He was on a 3-game winning streak. I don't know why you change your name when finally getting things going. And it showed that changing the name was the problem here, as Andrew's Crazy Fish gets his second win of the season at 97.66 to Ben's 82.76. A big game for Crazy Fish and a tough loss for Ben's Go Gators. All right, my co-host here, Bernie's Team B.
I'm Cuban, B.
Yes, Cuban B.
Our point leader for the season here, but was on a 3-game slide. He came into this one up against Corey's May Daddy 2s. Bernie's Team B came in at 3-3, while May Daddy 2s came in at 4-2. And Bernie's Team B got this one 97.99 to 93.48. This one was close all the way through, but Bernie finally ended his 3-game losing streak. All right, on to our games that we're going to break down a little bit further here, starting off with Amazing Spidey, who came in at 2-4, up against Jeff's Always Right off his first loss of the season last week, is still at 5-1 in first place in terms of a record. But we had a major upset in this one, guys.
Average Joe's wins in a shocking upset.
I feel shocked.
Michael's Amazing Spidey wins this one 90.58 to 80.99. Honestly, it shouldn't have been this close, as the Monday night game was just awful for Amazing Spidey. But let's see what players helped him get to that 90 points and a victory. A.J. Brown showed up again, got 26.1 points. And Drake May, hold on one second. Drake May came through with 23.08 points, and Drake May is heating up.
He's heating up!
It's gonna be May.
All right, his next player who helped him out here was Tyler Warren G.
Regulators! Mount up!
For the 4th straight week, Tyler Warren scored a touchdown, getting 14.9 points, and he is chugging along on those train tracks as he is rolling. For Amazing Spidey, this is his 2nd win in a row, and for Jeff's Always Right, this is his 2nd loss in a row. Unfortunately for Amazing Spidey, he did have a couple of duds, and they were his big-time Monday night wide receivers. Starting off with Nico Collins, could only get 4.7 points, and Mike Evans, who left the game in the first half with a big-time injury here, got the Goose, 0 points. He did have one strong player on his bench, as Joe Old Man Flacco had 25.98 points on the bench. Now for the injuries, we mentioned it a couple times here. Nico Collins suffered that concussion. I don't know how long he's going to be out. I'm guessing at least 1 week with the short week, but maybe he can be ready in time. But we'll just have to wait and see when we get closer to the weekend here. And Mike Evans, with a broken clavicle, for all intents and purposes, is done for the season.
Oh no.
Although I will tell you, I'm personally going to hold on to him a couple more weeks until I know for sure, because I am lower in the league in terms of fab budget left. So I'm going to hold on to these guys until I know that they cannot help me. All right, let's see what players played well for Jeff's Always Right this time. Patrick Mahomes at 26.24 points. This is crazy. The last 2 years, Patrick Mahomes only had 2 to 3 games over 20 points. And this year, he has all but 1 game over 20 points, as he's truly returned to MVP type form here. Also, Josh Jacobs at 18.3 points. This man is on fire.
He's on fire!
He did have one major dud in his lineup, Kareem Hunt at only 1.8 points. And one bench scorer who did pretty well and would have helped a little bit. Not sure if it would have made a difference in the total score here, and the outcome rather. Marvin Mims at 12.8 points. Luckily here for Jeff's Always Right, he made it through the week without any new injuries. All right, on to our next game here. We have Ken's The Fantastics up against Katie's King George, and this one was a bonanza, but the Fantastics took this one 122.24 to 108.25. The Fantastics was the highest scoring team of the week. And unfortunately, when it comes to fantasy football, it is all about the matchups, and Katie's King George, unfortunately, was the highest scoring loser of the week.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Despite the loss, the high score for Katie's King George is now her 3rd out of the last 4 games where she scored at least 108 points. All right, let's see which players helped both of these teams get to such a high score. Highest scoring player for the Fantastic was Devonta Smith at 28.8 points. And his teammate Jalen Hurts had 25.04 points.
He's heating up!
And Chris Olave had 24.3 points.
He's heating up!
And his star kicker, Brandon Aubrey, finally had a big-time game once again at 18.7 points. There was one dud in the starting lineup for the Fantastics, as Alvin Kamara could only get 4.4 points. And he had some strong players on his bench who could help him get even a bigger score, as Tucker, I'm not going to remember this, as Tucker Kraft Cheese.
It's gonna be May.
Wrong one. Let's try this again. Tucker Kraft Cheese.
Cheese.
There it is. All right. Had 14.3 points.
He's heating up.
And Wandale Robinson had 12.5 points on the bench.
He's heating up.
Fantastics made it through the week without any major injuries. Now for Katie's King George, how'd she get to 108 points? She had 4 players on her top performers list, starting off with newly acquired quarterback from a trade from Amazing Spidey. Justin Herbert had his highest scoring game of the season at 31.9 points. Oh, and the great Bijan
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon?
had 18.2 points, and he is chugging along on that train tracks. And her rookie sensation running back, Cam Scattaboo.
I'm a scat man. Bee ba 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 da boo. Ba 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 da boo. Skibbity bitty dun 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 dun.
Cam Scattaboo, the scat man, at 16.9 points, and he is chugging along as well, as he's had 4 straight games in the top performer list. She also had Cortland Sutton show up nicely with 13.7 points. Katie's King George had 0 duds, and she did have 1 strong player on her bench. Another player acquired in a trade from Amazing Spidey, Travis Hunter, had 20.1 points for his first game of the season with double-digit scoring. She had no major injuries this week, as she has been playing quite well. Let's see if she can get more W's in the future. All right, on to our next game. This was our closest game of the week, and I consider this an upset here, as we had Nick's Waddle Away coming in at 2-4 up against Jimerson's Red Sox Nation, who too was 2-4. And this one, man, this was a crazy game. Like I said, this was our closest game. It came down to the wire, as this was less than a 4-point differential, and it came down with 1 minute and 20 seconds left in the game on the early Monday night game between the Bucks and the Detroit Lions, as Jake Bates hit a 58-yard field goal that banked in off the upright, which gave him 5.8 points in our league scoring. Again, he won by less than 4. That kick with a minute to go was the difference. Oh my goodness, what a close game, and how it came down. Not only did it come down to the last kick, but that kick barely made it as it ricocheted off the inside of the upright. All right, let's see. Unfortunately now for Red Sox Nation, he has now lost 3 games in a row.
You're as cold as ice.
And looking at the way these top performers break down, it's really hard to imagine how Red Sox Nation lost this one. But let's start with the players for Waddle Away. CeeDee Lamb came back for his first game in 3 games.
Welcome back.
And he had 19.5 points. And this was the difference maker, in my opinion, when you break down the points. The Kansas City defense had 18.25 points, as they held the Raiders to a shutout and held them to less than 100 total yards of offense. A dominating performance, and except for the big kick by Bates, there was the difference maker in this outcome. Also, Ramondre Stevenson came through with 15.8 points. There was one dud on Waddle Away's starting lineup, as Hunter Henry only had 5.3 points. And this defense on his bench did quite well, but he played the right one. As like I said, this with a less than a 4-point differential, even this 13.5 points for the New England defense would not have been enough to secure the win. He did have one major injury on his team. However, it's not a starting player. He was not in the starting lineup, but nonetheless, a prospect is now done for the year for Nick's Waddle Away, as Kendra Miller is out for the rest of the year.
Uh-oh.
All right, now to Red Sox Nation. Again, looking at his top performers, I don't know how he lost this game. Starting off with Jackson Dart at 30.42 points. And he has been rolling along. That's 4 or more point games in a row with over 20 points for the rookie. And Rashee Rice also came back at 19.7 points.
Welcome back.
Jaylen Warren contributed nicely with 17.8, and Michael Pittman chipped in with 17.3. But this is where Red Sox Nation lost it. It wasn't with his top performers, but he had 3 duds compared to Waddle Away's 1 dud. Starting off with his number 1 pick in the first round here, Saquon Barkley only had 4.9 points. And Ted Aroa McMillan, oh my goodness, only had 4.8 points. And after a goose last week, Cam Little did improve, but was still a dud at only 1 point. There was no one on the bench that could have helped Red Sox Nation in this close matchup. I guess the only good news here is Red Sox Nation made it through the week without any major injuries. All right, with all the games in the book, let's take a look at the updated standings. Pardon me real quick. Sorry, I've got a different setup here, so I apologize. The updated standings. There it is. All right. So we still have the same team on top, on the top 2 spots, always right. Even though has lost 2 in a row, is still on top with a 5-2 record. And under 40 is up to 5-2 right now. So we have a tie for first place, but due to the overall points, always right is at the top of the list. They are each in different divisions. Team B, a big jump, went from 7th place up to 3rd place, as he is our point leader, and he will have the tiebreaker in terms of the wild card over every team in the league for the next couple weeks at minimum. Cubert's Rage also did a big jump from 8 to 4, as he is now 4-3. The Fantastics did a big jump as well from 9 to 5. All of our guys who are in the middle of the standings moved up to the top middle here. Let's see. The Fantastics moved from 9 to 5. May Daddy Toos fell from 4 to 6 with this loss. Go Gators fell from 3 to 7. King George fell from 5 to 8. They Took Our Jobs fell from 6 to 9. And our last 5 teams are the same. Waddle Away stays at 10. Red Sox Nation falls from 11 to 12, while Amazing Spidey moves up from 12 to 11. And Crazy Fish and Lion Eyes round out the bottom of the standings. I didn't do what I wanted. All right, guys. Now it is time to take a look at our updated Goose-O-meter.
I'm just goosing along.
All right, guys. We added 2 new gooses this week. We're up to 11. We've burned down the meter as it only goes up to 10. And once again, we burned it down early in the season here. May Daddy 2's added with Jamison Williams with a goose, and Amazing Spidey with Mike Evans got the goose as well. May Daddy 2's at the top of the Goose-O-meter list as he has 3 gooses on the season. It's amazing his record is as good as it is with the amount of zeros he is getting in his starting lineup. All right, guys, it is now time for this week's Mike Rant.
Baby Rant. Karen Rant.
I don't care whose fault it is. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think.
Mike Rant.
All right, you do the best you can, and you realize you drafted an awful team this year, but you're working your way to try and improve it. So you're working the trade market, and you make a trade, which you think is a great one. You trade away Justin Herbert, Travis Kelce, and Travis Hunter, essentially for RJ Harvey and Mike Evans. And the first time you get a chance to play Mike Evans, he is now out for the year, which means you traded Herbert, Kelce, and Hunter for RJ Harvey. Their team went from getting a little bit better to way worse if you just would have held on to your players. Could I at least get 2 games out of Mike Evans before we lose time here? This is not good at all. I'm playing against Bernie's Team B next week, who has the most points in the league, and I'm already down another receiver. I lost James Conner in week 2. Now I lose Mike Evans here in week 7. I know a lot of other players have injuries here, but this one hurts as well as my team was already weak and had no room for error. Injuries stink, but the first time after a trade just feels so dirty. All right, guys. I hope you guys don't have to have that same feeling there when you're trying to improve your team and you end up making it worse right away, as there's no chance to see how it might play out. All right, guys. With that being said, let's take a look at some waiver wire targets as we head into week number 8. I've got several QBs on the list, and this is because we have some backups maybe taking over this week. Let's start off with the old man, Joe Flacco. If he's out there for you, I don't know how long he's going to keep this going, but since the second half of 2 weeks ago, week 6 and all of week 7, Joe Flacco has been a superstar for the Cincinnati Bengals. He just gets those shotgun snaps, 1-2 patter step, and throws it to the outside to Jamar Chase over and over and over again. it's a pretty good guy to throw to get your stats padded. Joe Flacco should be on the top of your pickups in terms of quarterbacks, especially if you are in 2 quarterback leagues. Another player here to consider, Andy Dalton, guys. Andy Dalton is going to get the start here. I forgot to put in the news as Bryce Young is expected to miss a week or 2 with that high ankle sprain. Andy Dalton's back in, and he's similar to Joe Flacco, and like he can't sustain good numbers for a long stretch of time, but he usually does give a boost to the offense, especially when Bryce Young seems to be struggling. There's a chance here that either Leggett or Tedero McMillan might finally get more consistent and better targets. Of course, well, it just all depends on Andy Dalton's play this year, as he's not always the best, but he's had some good times with the Carolina Panthers in substitution mode. They're playing against Buffalo this week, which means they're going to have to keep up with scoring. So that means he might have to be airing it out here. Even if they are down, there might be a good second half of garbage time. And with Bryce Young not playing, they're not going to pull Andy Dalton for their third string quarterback. Dalton's going to play all the way to the end for this game, no matter what the score is. A chance for some garbage time points for Andy Dalton. Tyrod Taylor, it's not official yet. They're trending towards making a move here in New York for the New York Jets, and Tyrod Taylor is looking to potentially get the start for the Jets. And they're playing against Cincinnati, a defense that is not good, an offense that can score. Can Tyrod Taylor stay upright and try and keep up with the points, even if it's in garbage time? A sneaky play here, not one I'm looking for overall, but again, a play you could make in a pinch as the matchup is very good. This one, you have to make the move for the Thursday night game. Carson Wentz versus the LA Chargers. Chargers give up a lot of points, guys. Even the Dolphins scored 27 or some odd points against them. So keep in mind, this could be a shootout. I definitely don't like Thursday night games, but again, this is a potential here as he's going to get the start once again in a favorable matchup indoors. Weather won't be an issue, so keep an eye on that one. And this one is a little more speculative. There hasn't been a lot of news on here, but if you watch the end of that Atlanta game on, was it Sunday night they played? Michael Penix was getting banged up. His knees were getting torn up, not torn up literally, but he was getting beat up as his knees were getting injured, I guess, to some degree. Kirk Cousins might make an appearance, and they're playing against Miami. It's a golden matchup, mostly for the running game, but nonetheless, everybody's got a chance to eat against Miami. Kirk Cousins might be out there as a sneaky pickup. I know he didn't play last year, but I think he was really coming off the Achilles injury, and I think he also had an elbow injury that he was playing through and trying to gut it out. I don't know that that's been resolved here. I can only imagine with the amount of time since his last start that he's had time to heal up. We know Kirk Cousins is a quality quarterback, and I have the sneaky suspicion if he gets a chance to get back in there, he's going to perform. All right, moving on to some running backs out there. Kamani Vidal has probably been picked up. I picked him up personally in our league a couple weeks ago, but nonetheless, he's not a big-time player, and depending on how small or big your league are, he might still be out there. Playing against Minnesota, which is a decent matchup. It seems kind of counterintuitive, but it is a decent matchup. They are at home, but with Hassan Haskins doubtful to play, he was already getting about 85% of the carries, if not more. This was just going to lock him in at the minimum of that same number, if not higher. All right, Kyle Monangai is starting to split carries. You won't notice it here because DeAndre Swift has been so effective the last couple weeks, but Monangai has been getting on the field and doing well as well. They're playing against the Baltimore Ravens, who have been giving up tons and tons of points to quality offenses here. There's a chance for both of these running backs to have a decent day. I wouldn't put him as a number 1 or 2 running back, but definitely Monangai is worth a potential flex in an emergency, especially with all the bye weeks this week. Jadon Blue is a speculative ad. He hasn't shown anything on the field, but he is next up in terms of running back on the depth chart for the Dallas Cowboys. We're not picking up Blue to play him. We're picking up Blue as a speculative ad. They're playing Denver this week. Not a good matchup. Once again, put him on the back of your bench if you have the roster space. Our next player here is Devin Neal, rookie running back out of New Orleans. With the injury to Kendra Miller, he is out for the year. Neal is now the backup. And Alvin Kamara is always due to get injured as an older running back. And even though he says over and over again he wants to stay in New Orleans, he is also a trade candidate as well. Devin Neal might be someone you don't even realize you can get for free right now. And in 2 to 3 weeks, he might be on the top of the waiver wire claims. And Emmanuel Wilson, once again, we saw how good Josh Jacobs was last week as he played through that calf injury, but they rested him a little bit until they needed him in crunch time, and he came through. So there's no immediate thing here, but Jacobs was a little banged up. They definitely did limit his snaps due to that injury. And I mentioned it last week. The Packers are playing Pittsburgh this week, which is a plus matchup. But not only this week, the next 5 weeks is a neutral to plus matchup in every game for Green Bay. In the awful chance here that Josh Jacobs misses any time, Emmanuel Wilson is going to have a lot of plus matchups. Although keep in mind that Marshawn Brooks is also getting back to from the IR as well, which might cloud the situation. But Emmanuel Wilson right now is the main backup. He got a ton of carries last week, and he did well in them. He just is not getting the goal line work. They put Jacobs in for the goal line in the fourth quarter. And A.J. Dillon is the backup for Saquon Barkley. He did have he didn't have a concussion. He got checked for a concussion last week. Again, there's no imminent reason for him to be playing A.J. Dillon, but he is the backup on a quality offense behind a quality back. All right, now to our receivers out there. We're looking at Arondé Gadsden, rookie tight end for the LA Chargers, up against the Minnesota Vikings on Thursday night. Had a bunch of targets, over 160 yards last week. Can he keep it up? I don't know. It's a little hard to keep track of these guys, but he has been first reads for the team. I forget what it was, 6 to 12 times. So not only is he on the field getting big yards, he has been the play's been designed for him at least 10 to 15% of the time, if not more. I need to double check my numbers there, but nonetheless, he is definitely involved. But they have 3 other good receivers, so he's just part of that full receiving core. So it's hard to say who's going to do what when, but he is definitely earning his chances on the field, and he's producing as a monster athlete in the tight end position. Kayshon Boutte is boom or bust, but when he busts, he booms good, man. Kayshon Boutte up against Cleveland this week. I don't love that matchup, to be honest with you. So I'm not looking at him for this week's play, but he is definitely one of the top 2 receivers for Drake May. Christian Watson, I keep saying he's going to be back, but he's got to be back by this week. This is his last chance, and they're playing against Pittsburgh, and we see how much the Green Bay Packers rely on Josh Jacobs. They need some receiver help to help diversify their offense. And this player I'm usually not too fond of, but it seems like when Andy Dalton's on the field, Xavier Legette gets more and more targets. He had, I think, six or so targets in the fourth quarter alone when Andy Dalton came in. So keep that in mind that he might be the favorite for Andy Dalton over these next couple of games. And again, they're playing the Buffalo Bills, whose defense is okay. Their offense scores a ton of points, and teams are going to have to at least keep up, or at least they'll be in the fear of keeping up, and they'll probably be going for it early in the game on these fourth downs at midfield or closer. This guy is a little risky here. Is Mason Taylor, rookie for the New York Jets. I think Tyrod Taylor, if he gets a start, is a better passer, obviously, than Justin Fields. But they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Not only is that an awful defense, meaning that's a good matchup for offenses, but the Cincinnati Bengals have given up 7 touchdowns to tight ends over the last 2 or 3 weeks and 9 touchdowns to tight ends over the season. Remember how many touchdowns for the Pittsburgh Steelers tight ends just a week ago against Cincinnati? And Mason Taylor without Garrett Wilson. We're not sure if he's playing yet or not. We'll have a little more update on that on our next show here. But especially if Garrett Wilson's out, Mason Taylor's the number 1 receiver against a bad defense who gives up points to that specific position. And Tez Johnson, with the absence of Mike Evans here, he was very, very, very involved, very fast, very shifty. He's going to get on the field. He's going to be the outside wide receiver across from Abuka. I would say a majority of the time, as Sterling Shepard will maintain the slot as long as Chris Godwin's not back yet. Tez Johnson is going to be on the field a lot for the rest of the season, and he has the New Orleans Saints this week. Again, not a great matchup, not an awful not good or bad, a kind of a neutral matchup. But again, he's so fast, and he's earning the trust of Baker Mayfield. He's going to be a solid play, at least a flex for the foreseeable future. All right, now for some kickers here. We have Evan McPherson's had a little bit of a tough year, but against the New York Jets, they have a chance. I think field goals. They'll take field goals instead of touchdowns whenever they get inside the 20-yard line, and it's fourth down. Evan McPherson has a chance to get 2 to 3 field goals this week at a minimum. And Will Reichert, he's been a stud. I think he led the league in scoring last week in kickers at 19 points in our league anyway. Up against the Chargers, you've got to make the decision if you want to play him on Thursday night, which is a little tough. But nonetheless, Will Reichert has been a steady player all season long. And Cairo Santos, kicker for the Bears. Bears are on a 4-game winning streak. They're scoring points, and they're playing against Baltimore, who last we saw cannot stop anybody. This is a chance to be a really high-scoring game. We're not sure if Lamar Jackson's playing quite yet. He did miss the first practice of the week. That's not great, but the over-under and the favorites have not moved enough to indicate he won't play. So this is a chance to be a high-scoring game, and the Baltimore defense is not good. All right, now for some streaming defenses out there that we can play. If they're out there, you got the Buffalo defense up against the Carolina Panthers. Again, Panthers might be able to keep up in points, but they also have a chance to make a ton of mistakes. You got Andy Dalton making his first start here. Again, this is similar to last week. You're going with a guy who has a chance in a good matchup one way or the other. You just have to decide what script you want to believe in. Can Carolina keep up, or is Buffalo going to get a bunch of sacks or a pick six? LA Chargers up against Minnesota. They're at home on a short week here. Minnesota's Carson Wentz has a tendency to make mistakes. We'll see how this one goes, but he gets sacked and does throw interceptions. Chargers have a very good defense. Derwin James should be able to get at least one tipped ball, if not an interception. In the Cincinnati defense, this is a crazy one, guys. Cincinnati defense, one of the worst defenses out there, is playing against the New York Jets, who get sacked over and over and over again, no matter which quarterback is in there. There's going to be at least 4 sacks this week against the Jets, if not more. Cincinnati is going to be a sneaky play. If you're ever going to play Cincinnati this season, this is the week to do it. All right, guys, now it's time to play a little game I like to call Please Hold or Time to Go.
You've reached Wingman Fantasy Football. Please hold. Yeah, we're gonna have to let you go. So, just pack up your things and leave your key pass on the desk before you leave. Okay? Alright.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
All right, what do we do? What do we do with Jameson Williams coming off the Goose, where he played the entire game? He's only has 2 games this year in double digits. He's had a really rough go. He's giving you 4 points or less 6 out of the 8 weeks. They're on bye this week, so that's part of the question. Do you hold on to him through the bye? I think he's too valuable to let go for free, but I would definitely consider throwing him into a trade package if you are just overly frustrated and you want to not deal with that boom bust. Put a sabotage out there for your opponents, as whoever picks up Jameson Williams is going to start him most likely, as they don't have the pain that you have had him having all year long. Jameson Williams, I think if you're sick of the frustration, it might be time to let him go.
It's time to go!
Similarly here, we have Jacoby Myers has had 4 straight games under 6 points. He missed last week with an injury. He says he wants to be traded, and they're on a bye this week as well. Do you hold on to him through the bye? Do you think he can improve with the Raiders, or you think he might join a better team where his services might be more valuable? I can't think of a team where he would go and become the number 1 or 2 receiver off the top of my head. Maybe Tampa Bay, maybe someone like that. Otherwise, he's going to be a 2-3 wherever he goes. This is the best situation for him, as he's the number 1 on the Raiders. I don't think there's any other team that's going to trade for him to be their 1. So I don't know if his status improves with a trade, except for getting off of the Raiders. But again, his opportunities are so much better with the Raiders, even though he's not having the year he usually has. This one's a little tough here. If you need a spot, though, in the bye weeks here, this one similar to Williams, I would try and throw him in a trade. I wouldn't drop him outright. But he's letting you down. You can't play him for this week. And even next week, you're not going to be able to play him. And I don't see a spot where he's going to improve unless he gets on a team via a trade, an NFL trade, where he has a chance to become a more valuable asset. And once again, this is similar to Jameson Williams. You don't have to, but if you can package him in a trade, I think I'd let him go.
It's time to go!
All right, we have Kareem Hunt has been ceding work to the rookie Brashad Smith here for the Kansas City Chiefs. He hardly had any work this last week, was a dud, and they're not putting him in the goal lines anymore, as Pacheco has regained the goal line carries as well as Brashad Smith. Kareem Hunt is now a 3rd running back on a quality team, but not a quality run game. If you need the spot, I would very strongly consider letting Kareem Hunt go.
It's time to go!
All right, guys, it's now time to take a look at our Wingman Jam. This was the showcase showdown where we had our two players with Andrew and Austin. The winner of Showcase 1 was Andrew. Winner of Showcase 2 was Austin. And they went heads up to win some Wingman Fantasy Football swag. I'm wearing the shirt right here, a Wingman Jam shirt that they're playing for. So let's see how this week's Wingman Jam contest went.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka. All right, let's see what players our managers picked. Starting off with Andrew went with the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson and Drake London had a disappointing combined 24.4 points up against Austin, who had the Lions. Goff and Gibbs had 49.64 points, the most points of the season.
That score is more embarrassing than when your uncle started twerking at the family picnic.
This was an embarrassing blowout as he doubled him up. Congratulations to Austin. You won the first half's Wingman Jam, and you're going to earn yourself some Wingman Fantasy Football swag. Congratulations, young man. Way to go. You get to pick your choice of the Classic Edition or the Creators Edition. I'm wearing the Creators Edition right here with a big picture of Bernie and myself on the back. I don't know if I should. I'll show it real quick. Why not? Not sure if you can make that out, how far away I was, but nonetheless, congratulations, you, Austin. You're going to earn yourself some swag. Way to go. All right, moving along to our next part of our show here. We're going to do our Thursday night preview. The Thursday night game this week has the Minnesota Vikings up against the LA Chargers on Thursday night at 8:15 p.m. The over-under for this game is 44.5. The Chargers are a home favorite at 3 points, which, as we all know out there, a home team generally gets 3 points. So they consider these teams even, and they're giving the home team the prerequisite advantage. So let's see. Who we pick? How do we think this game's going to go here? Scoring-wise, over-under. I'm not sure. I think it's a pretty fair over-under. This game's probably going to be 24-21, something like that, 24-23. Yeah, I'm going to go over barely. I'm going to pick Minnesota to cover, actually. I think this game's going to be a close game. It's hard to get closer than 3 points, but I'm going to have the home team win this one on either a kick by Dicker or a missed kick by Reichert here at the end. This one's going to be pretty close here. 30-28, something like that. 24-23 in that range is my thought. All right, now let's get to the fantasy aspect here. What are we doing with these players? Carson Wentz, again, is getting the start. Has been okay, not great. What are we thinking about starting Wentz over some of our options? Keep in mind, we have 6 NFL teams on bye this week. So we have a lot of less options. And even with that, the teams that are playing, we already mentioned all the backup quarterbacks that are probably going to get the start this week between Mariota, Dalton, maybe Kirk Cousins, maybe Tyrod Taylor, stuff like that. So where do you think Wentz falls in? I'm just kind of guessing here. He's higher than I thought. I would put him at 18 without all those things I just mentioned. So I'm going to say he's probably going to be anywhere between 11 and 13. I don't want to play someone on the back of my rankings here in terms of a quarterback one on Thursday night. I try and avoid Thursday nights as much as I can. So he's not an automatic start, although he's definitely a startable player if you just have a bad combination of players on your team. All right, now for the running backs, Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. We'll have to double check. I don't believe Aaron Jones will be activated in time for this game, only because it's Thursday night, although there is a chance. We will definitely double check as we get closer to that game here. So I'm expecting Jordan Mason to have the backfield to himself once again. The defensive line and the linebackers are pretty good for the Chargers. I would say play Mason as you normally would. Just don't expect that huge game that he has against the big-time matchups. This is going to be one of those games where he's probably going to get that 12 to 14 points, depending on you might have good yards and no touchdown or medium yards and a touchdown. I max him out at 18 points here, 110 yards and a touchdown at max. But we'll all take that. That's a good score. And I think his floor is probably around that 8 points, give or take. So between 8 and 18 points, I'd play him as you normally would, although I don't consider this to be a good matchup, just not a bad matchup. Again, though, if Aaron Jones does come back, that's going to put a little different spin on this. If he is back there, I'd probably still play Mason, but I would definitely lower his ceiling and probably lower his floor by about 10% or so. All right, now for the receivers. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison here. Addison's actually been outperforming Jefferson, but you can't sit Jefferson. And Addison, I think, has earned the right to be a flex on your team. Obviously, depends on the combination of players. The passing defense is not quite as good for the LA Chargers, in my opinion, as they get a little beat over the top. I think Jordan Addison is a decent play, and Jefferson, no matter what he's doing, you have to put him in your lineup. All right, now for the tight end, TJ Hawkinson, not good enough to be a flex. And honestly, I don't think he's good enough to be a tight end either for your lineups. All right, let's move over to the LA Chargers side. We have Justin Herbert coming off his highest scoring game of the season as they had to keep up with points. Again, this is a neutral matchup at home. I think he's going to go back to his 18 to 21 point range here. Of course, it all depends on the amount of touchdowns he throws. I think you can play him as you would. I wouldn't expect a ceiling game for Herbert, but nonetheless, he's earned his right to be one of your starters. He's going to be in that, with all the buys, he's going to be that 8 to 11 range. So I have him ahead of Wentz by a good couple of rankings. All right, this one's interesting, guys. I have him in my team. I sat him last week, played him 2 weeks ago. I'm playing him this week due to injuries and buys. Kamani Vidal, the Hassan Haskins. I was already put in my lineup before I heard about Hassan Haskins. That just makes me a little more confident. The matchup's okay. Again, not great. He's a small guy, but he's getting all the work. I'm just going to hope for the best, close my eyes, pinch my nose, and hope for the best. I'm putting Kamani Vidal in my lineup. I'm not telling you what you should do here, but again, I'm a desperate manager in this situation here as I've got some injuries, and I have no problem putting Vidal in, except for the Thursday night part of it. I don't like, but being there at home, and he's the only running back on the team, I'm going for it. So Vidal's in my lineup. I think he's worth a start depending on your situation. All right, now for the receivers. McConkey, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnson, they're also good. McConkey has been really good the last 3 weeks. Keenan Allen had a great game this past week. And even with those guys eating up all the targets and Aranda Gatson having a huge game, Quentin Johnson still had 10 points last week. So these guys are all worth playing. They're all going to kind of cap each other's ceilings, you would think. They're not playing against the Colts where they're going to have to come back the entire time. So you're going to mute some of their ceilings here, but they're all quality plays. I'd probably rank them. I'd probably rank them McConkey, Allen, Johnston, but they're pretty darn close. And then where do you put Aranda Gatson? He's definitely a tight end play. He's earned that right with his last 2 games. He's a rookie. These guys generally start slow and get better and better. He's improved every game. We've seen the athletic profile for the position as he catches the ball and he can run away from guys. He's definitely earned a tight end a start. Has he earned a flex spot in your opinion? Again, Thursday nights I try and stay away from. Depends on your roster. I'm not picking him up to put him in unless I lost someone like Mike Evans or Nico Collins, and I've lost them both. I might have to pick him up, but I've got some other options already on my team here. As I got Deebo Samuel, who missed last week, who I think I can put right back into that spot. All right, guys, I think we're going to end it right here. I want to thank you guys for joining me. We're doing this very early in the morning or late at night, depending on how I look at it. So waivers have probably already run, to be honest with you. That's how crazy this is, guys. That's why Bernie's not joining me, because we're doing this at 3 in the morning and we're getting this out so you guys can listen to this on your way to work. It'll be out on your favorite podcast platforms. Just look up Wingman, the league on your favorite podcast platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and the Odyssey app. So thank you all so very much for watching and or listening. If you want to watch our episodes here, we're in a different setting this time. As we said, we broke down the studio for Oktoberfest, so I don't quite have it all up and ready to go. We're back at the original bar where we first started the show a couple of years back. So if you want to see that for yourself, go to our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube or youtube.com/@wingmanfantasyfootball. When you go to our YouTube page, guys, do me the favor, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Let us know which games you want us to preview in our next show. Also, leave a comment or concern, and we'll get you on our next mailbag. Let me know your stories of trades you made where you either traded away a player who got hurt for the other team or you traded for a player who got hurt right away for your team. Those are tough goes, guys. But with that being said, thank you again for joining us. May your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty, and we will see you next time.